अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. Welcome back to our Bhagavad Gita study series. And today we are going to start a new chapter, which is actually the most important chapter of this entire scripture. This is the 15th chapter, which is actually the essence of the whole scripture and the essence of the whole Vedas. This is traditionally known as Purushottama Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person, Purushottam. So, first we will have a look on the chapter, how it is the essence of this entire scripture. That is an overview we will first have, and then we will get into the detailed elaboration of each and every verse. So, as the name suggests of this chapter, Purushottama Yoga, So we can understand, or we can at least gaze that Purushottama Tattva is going to be revealed in this chapter by Bhagavan. So it is the most confidential chapter also, we can say. Okay. So we see there are 20 verses in this chapter, 20 shlokas. And in the last verse, that is 20th verse of this chapter, Bhagavan gives a beautiful statement, which is very significant. He says, Iti guhyatamam shastram idam uktam maya anagha. Etad buddhya buddhiman syat kritakrityascha bharata. So, iti guhyatamam shastram. So, it is a very beautiful statement that Bhagavan gives here. O sinless Arjuna, this most confidential scripture has been told by me. By knowing this, a person comes to the perfectional level. Kritakritya, that is the most perfect in all his endeavors. So now iti, this particular word, usually is used as the end of something. So here in this verse, that is the last verse of this chapter, Bhagavan says, iti guhyatamam shastram. So here also, this is an indication of the end of something, but not the end of the whole scripture, but it is the end of this chapter. Because the scripture will be continuing after this verse also. So we see in the last chapter, in 18th chapter also, in 18.63, we will see another iti. Iti te jnanam akyatam guhyat guhyataram maya. So that iti is the indication for the end of the whole scripture. But here this iti is the indication of the end of a particular chapter. So we see in the whole scripture, other than this 15th chapter, in the whole scripture, we have never seen such a kind of a statement, that is, idam shastram. So it means Bhagavan is giving the status of a whole scripture to this particular chapter, this Panchadasha Adhyayaha, 15th chapter, which means this chapter is complete in itself. And the whole scripture is actually capsulated within this. The whole scripture is capsulated in this particular chapter. So all the essence of this scripture, that means It is lying here in this chapter. It is a very small chapter. And what kind of a shastram? Iti guhyatamam shastram. The most confidential scripture. So, if we had noticed previously, this particular term, guhyatama, this word is used in chapter 9, and it will be again used in chapter 18th also. As in chapter 9, Bhagavan says, Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami. Arjuna, I am going to tell you the most confidential knowledge. In the very beginning of 9th chapter. And in 18th chapter, as we just mentioned about the iti being used in the verse number 63, 18.63. So after that iti also, Bhagavan giving a punascha. That is, he says, Sarva guhyatamam bhuyaha shrinu me paramam vachaha. It is just the following verse, that is 18.64. Bhuyaha, again. So, Arjuna, I had already told you everything about the most confidential knowledge. But still, again, I am going to state this to you. So, in this way, he will be saying this again in the last chapter. Now, why bhuyah shrunuhu? I'm talking about that 18th chapter. I told twice this guhyatama, that is the most confidential knowledge. I have talked about it twice in this whole scripture, O Arjuna. One in 9th chapter and then in 15th chapter. Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yogaha, that is 9th chapter, and this Purushottama Yogaha, that is the 15th chapter. Now, O Arjuna, I am telling you again, 1, 2, 3, thrice, that he will be saying in Ashtadasha Adhyaya, 18th chapter. And that after this statement, what he is going to say again, that is a particular verse, the first line of which, the first pada of which is used in 2 verses in this whole scripture. One is 9.34, Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. So that particular verse in 9.34 and 18.65. So the first 2 padas are same in these 2 verses. And the last part is also the same as Mameva Ashyasi is used in both the cases, in both the places. That is, you will get me. You will surely attain me. As in 9th chapter, Bhagavan said, Yuktvevam Atmanam Matparayanaha. So if you give your mind entirely to me, then you will attain me for sure. And in 18th chapter, he says, Satyam te pratijane. Oh Arjuna, I am promising So with a promise in my heart, I'm stating this to you again, that you will definitely attain me. So, which means it is possible only by the Bhakti Yoga, what he mentioned in the end of 14th chapter. And definitely in the beginning of this chapter, there is a connection that we will tell when we will start from the very beginning of this chapter. Now we are just having an overview. And then in the last verse, it is a bit different here. In a different way, we are going in this chapter. We are giving much emphasis on the last verse in the very beginning, but definitely you will understand the reason behind it. And then Bhagavan says, Krita Krityascha. So what happens after knowing this? That is, on receiving this confidential knowledge, a person reaches the perfectional stage. Why? Because this confidential knowledge reveals the ultimate truth, that is the Purushottama Tattva. And he knows that I am the Purushottama. Janati Purushottama. So it is said in the 19th verse, Yo mam evam asammodho janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bhavat. So he then starts bhajana after knowing this truth, after knowing the complete Purushottama Tattva, that is the Ishvara Tattva, completely. A person had no choice but to engage himself in bhajana, devotional service. So this bhajana is the indication given in Manmana Bhava Mad Bhaktaha, the two shlokas 9.34 and 18.65, which is stated twice in this whole scripture. And if we notice that in this shloka, there are 3-4 times the usage of asmad shabda rupam. It is used thrice or 3 or 4 times in this. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam eva eshyasi. So 4-5 times. So we see, if we know the object of worship perfectly, then the worship can be successful. So the sadhya tattva, if we know the siddhanta of sadhya tattva, then the sadhana becomes very easy and effective. So we must know our object of worship, that is sadhya tattva. And he is Purushottama, that is Krishna. So we must know Purushottama. And how to know? Yo mam evam. So this whole knowing process is the description given in this particular chapter. from the very beginning, that is from verse 1 till verse 18, the whole Purushottama Tattva is being established. And the last two verses, 19th and 20th, they are actually the conclusion. As he says, Yo mam eva asammodhaha janati Purushottama. So, whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without any doubt. So we see in this way, he will come to know the entire Purushottama Tattva, that is the whole Ishvara Tattva, and he will start, he will engage himself in devotional service. He will do bhajana. And then he says that is iti guhyatamam shastram in the following verse 20. So this indicates that there is no doubt about it, that one who knows me completely, knows the Purushottama Tattva completely, that is, knows me completely, he will start bhajana. So we see in the 9th chapter, there was an indication of this Guhyatamam, that is the most confidential knowledge. There was an indication, Sanketa. And in the last chapter, 18th chapter, there will be a repetition. There will be a repetition. A repetition like, as we just mentioned, Bhuyaha eva. I'm telling you again, this Guhyatamam. Sarva Guhyatamam Bhuyah Shrinu me Paramam Vachaha. 1864. So there was indication in 9th chapter and there will be repetition in 18th chapter. In between, in 15th chapter, there is the entire elaboration of this Guhyatama knowledge. Most confidential knowledge, Guhyatama Jnana. We see in 9th chapter or in last 18th chapter, this particular word Purushottama is not used. But similar words, similar in essence, such words are used. Like in 9th chapter, Parambhavam. The Parambhavam means definitely the Purushottama Tattva. That is the highest truth about Ishvara, about me. So there he says, avajananti mam modha manushim tanumashritam parambhavam ajanantya. So avajananti, so they don't care about me as a result of their ignorance. So because they are fools, so they don't know me. Avajananti mam modha. And here in this chapter, Bhagavan says, who know me, they worship me with all their heart. Janati bhajati. And in 18th chapter also we see, though the Purushottama particular word is not present, but Parabhakti, Parashanti, Matparaha, Matprasadat, Tarishyati, the Matprasadat, this particular word, which is very similar in essence to Purushottama, that is used. They are used. So, Purushottama Tattva is revealed by the Purushottama himself in this 15th chapter. And we see Arjuna he addressed Bhagavan as Purushottama in two places. Once in 10th chapter, 10.15, Swayam evatmanatmanam vitthatvam Purushottamam. So, O Purushottama, you only know yourself by yourself. Swayam evam atmanam vittha tvam Purushottamam. And then again he says, he addresses Purushottama in 11th chapter, 11.3 in Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. One in Vibhuti Yoga and the second in Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. There he says, Drashtumichhami te rupam aishwaram Purushottama. So I want to see your divine form. But you see, in from the mouth of the Lord himself, this Purushottama Tattva is practically revealed in this particular chapter. And that is the speciality of this chapter. So we see in 8th chapter, Bhagavan talked about Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, etc. So Adhibhuta, there he said, Adhibhutam Kshara Bhava. Kshara, and Brahma Aksharam Uchyate. So Adhibhuta Kshara, Brahma Akshara. And there is another Tattva which is even beyond them, that is called Purushottama. So the Tattva which is manifested as this creation is Kshara, Kshara Bhava. Kshara is not permanent. I would not say not permanent, but I would say it is always changing. And in this continuous changing procedure, the Tattva, which is eternal, Nitya, which is omnipresent, Sarvagata, which is Achala, that is non-moving, Nishkriya, inactive. That Tattva is Akshara Tattva. So we see Kshara expresses itself in multiplicity, whereas Akshara expresses itself in unity. But beyond these two tattvas, both this multiplicity and this unity comes from a particular tattva which is known as Purushottama Tattva. Kshara expresses in the mystery of this Jagat, this whole creation. It is always active. And Akshara is the mystery of Brahma. It is non-moving, inactive. So in Purushottama Tattva, both these two mysteries are togetherly present. So this Kshara Tattva, it is the mystery of this manifested world. So it is confidential knowledge, of course. It is not possible for everybody to know, and it is not expressed. So it is Guhya Tattva, that is confidential knowledge. Akshara Tattva is the mystery of Brahma. So it is more confidential, Guhyatara Tattva. But above both this Guhya and Guhyatara, that is confidential and more confidential, there is the most confidential Tattva, which is Guhyatama, that is the Purushottama Tattva. So we see Kshara Tattva is Guna. We see they are the effect of three gunas. So it is under the effect of gunas. And Akshara Tattva, it is Gunatita, that is beyond the gunas. And Purushottama Tattva is actually both. Both. Because you see, Kshara is with form, but changing. Akshara is formless. Atma, we can't see. But Purushottama, simultaneously, he is Nirakara and with Akara. Nirakara and Sakara. Nirvikara and Sakara. Because he has a Chit Akara, a condensed form, Chit Ghana Akara. So as we mentioned in maybe our previous class, so Bhagavan is the condensed expression of Brahman. So that is why Ghana, it is the condensed form of Chit Akara. So that is the Akara of Bhagavan. So Jiva, they have Prakrita Akara, that is a material form. Purushottama, he has the spiritual form. And that is why the Manushim Tanu, which we experience, is a spiritual human form. Chit Maya Manushim Tanu. Or Chit Ghanakara Manushim Tanu. So this is the confidential statement or the confidential knowledge that Bhagavan reveals in this particular chapter. So we see this is so wonderful, and one thing that is there are few people, who are the naturalist. They say that Prakriti has become everything. So they cannot see this world as it is. They see everything as the mystery of this world, but can't reveal anything, can't go to the deeper in this mystery and to solve it. But people who know that the Prakriti is actually Apara Prakriti of Ishvara himself, which is mentioned in 7.4. And this is the confidential knowledge. But there are certain other people who think that we, that is the human, we are the ultimate tattva, that is they are the humanist. See, they also think everything as a mystery of this world, and they also can't solve anything. So this naturalist science and this humanist philosophy, both are not capable to solve the ultimate mystery of this creation. And actually, they are ruining the entire society. Here we see Bhagavad Gītā says that this Purusha, that is Jiva, they are also Prakriti. What kind of Prakriti? Para Prakriti. Para Prakriti. In the 2 verses in chapter 7, Bhagavan says one after another in verse 4 and 5, Bhumi rapo nalo vayu kam mano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashtatha. So this says this Prakriti is my Apara Prakriti, and apareyamitastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. So that is my Para Prakriti, that is Jiva. So Bhagavad Gita reveals this statement, this knowledge. So we see this Apara Prakriti and Para Prakriti. These are the 2 divisions of the Supreme. They are the Bahiranga Shakti and the Tatastha Shakti of the Purushottama. So, the Swarupa Shakti, in which Purushottama is always playing his Leelas, that is Leela Purushottama. So, that Tattva is the most confidential knowledge, Guhyatamam. So we see all these tattvas to be known, to know the whole. That is Kshara Tattva, Akshara Tattva, Purushottama Tattva. Apara Prakriti, Para Prakriti, Bhagavan. So, Leela Purushottama is always in his Swarupa Shakti. And he expands 2 kinds of Shaktis as Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. Apara Prakriti is Akshara Bhava, that is the Jagat, this entire creation. And Para Prakriti is the Jiva. That is, one is his Bahiranga Shakti, external potency, and it is the Tatastha Shakti, Jiva, that is in the middle. Neither external nor internal that way. So this whole tattva to be known, to know the Purushottama tattva. So Purushottama is one with this Akshara and Kshara at the same time, not one. So we see in the 7th chapter, as Bhagavan told about his supremacy, Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya, his supremacy, and that he is the source of everything, as we just mentioned in 4th, 5th verse, in 7.19, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that he is the embodiment of everything, he is the essence of everything, he is the supreme. So all these things, it is mentioned in the whole chapter, whole 7th chapter. And that completeness is actually established in this particular small, complete chapter. Because this small chapter has acquired the degree of a whole scripture on its own credit. We see even Sripad Shankaracharya, he also pointed out this particular point. That is, he mentions, Yadyapi Gītākhyam Shamastam Shastram Uchyate Tathapyayam Evadhyaya Iha Shastram Ityuchyate Stutyartham Prakaranat. सर्वो हि गीता शास्त्रार्थो अस्मिन् अध्याये समासेनोक्तः न केवलं सर्वश्च वेदार्थ इह परिसमाप्तो यस्तं वेद स वेदवित् वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव विद्यः इति चोक्तम्. So we see all the great personalists or impersonalists, they have to admit that the ultimate Purushottama Tattva is Sri Bhagavan himself. And in Śrimad Bhagavad Gītā, he reveals this confidential, most confidential knowledge himself in this chapter. So it means, that is this Shankaracharya statement, it means that though by the word scripture, it indicates the whole scripture, that is whole Bhagavad Gita, but here in this particular verse, that is verse number 20, this particular term Shastra is used for this chapter only, because the prakarana is going on, and here in this chapter, Bhagavan is actually glorifying this chapter, and it is its meaning is whatever is said in this particular chapter is actually stated in the whole of the scripture in different places. So actually, this is the summary or the essence of the whole scripture. And he particularly mentions, see, सर्वो हि गीता शास्त्रार्थो अस्मिन् अध्याये समासेनोक्तः न केवलं सर्वश्च वेदार्थ इह परिसमाप्तो. So it is not only that all the Veda Artha is actually included in this particular chapter, but yastad Vedasa Vedavid Vedeshcha Sarverahameva Vidyaha iti choktam. So as Bhagavan says in verse 15, सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्त स्मृति ज्ञानम अपोहनम च वेदेश्च सर्वैरहमेव विद्यः वेदान्तकृत वेदविदेव चाहं. So there, as it is said that by all the Vedas, I am to be known. Vedeshcha sarver ahameva vidyo. So that is that ultimate tattva is revealed in this particular chapter. That Vedeshcha sarver ahameva vidya vedanta krit veda videva chaham. Yes, that Vedasa Vedavid. So who knows me? He is Vedavid. Because I am to be known through the study of all the Vedas. So it is very beautiful, see, and that particular word, that is anagha, is used in the second pada. Idam uktam mayanagha. So anagha, as we know, anagha means seamless, nishpapa. So why anagha? Because Arjuna could hear this most confidential knowledge, guhyatamam tattvam, from the mouth of Sri Bhagavan, because he is anagha, he is sinless. So if we want to grasp this, if we want to imbibe this tattva, if we want to flow our heart with the rasa of this tattva, then definitely we also have to be sinless. So if we really want to understand this tattva that is described in this particular chapter, that is Purushottama Yoga of 15th chapter, we must have to be sinless. So this is the outline or the introduction of this chapter, where maybe you have noticed I have mostly emphasized on the last two verses, especially the last verse. But definitely in our next class, we will start from the very beginning of the chapter, verse by verse, as we study. So with this, we will close today's session. वञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining.